Welcome to Meadowsweet Farm Fiber Arts Design Studio. My name's Bonnie, and you are most welcome here in my little corner of the world in southwestern Pennsylvania. Today's video, I'll be sharing with you a lilac jelly recipe. I'm going to show you how I process my honey, and I'll take you for a little tour around the farm. I also will share with you a finished knitting project and one that is just about done. So thank you for joining me.
Just a pretty squirrel. Yeah, I know. Look at this. Oh, you're so sweet. Do that again. Wilbur, you have some water.
Spring is always my busiest time of year. This is when I get out and clean up all the flower beds, do a lot of trimming of trees, give the porches, floors a good coat of paint. That's a Japanese maple that I planted years and years ago. And this is kind of like a little kitchen garden. I've got some lemon balm and some flowering bushes that I can come out and cut for putting in the house or on the kitchen table. I've got some sage, and I try to put a lot of my herbs in pots on this little side porch. And this is just a fun little place to come and sit in the evening or in the afternoon. It does get a lot of afternoon sun. And this is just a special, cozy little spot. I started extracting honey from the hives, and there you can see some of my jars. This is not an easy feat. I had to go over and open up the beehives. Unfortunately, the bees did not, neither hive made it this past winter, and I've heard from lots of beekeepers that they lost their hives as well. The gentleman that helps me with the beehives couldn't really say what happened. He checked them in the fall and they both looked great. They had lots of food, and he checked the hives at one point midwinter when we had a break in the weather, and one hive was kind of didn't look all that great, but the other hive was still thriving. And then in the spring when he opened up the hives, neither one made it. So I'm taking all the frames out of the hives, and I bought a honey extractor, and so I've got to put every single one of these frames into the honey extractor and then it spins the honey out of the combs, and then I process it a little bit further by straining the honey in cheesecloth, and then the leftover that's in the hives, I take that and boil that down and extract. Okay guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, this is what the honeycomb frame looks like, and I am going to show you how I'm just going to scrape off the top of this, and then I am going to put it in a centrifuge, and then when all the honey is extracted from the cells, then I'll strain it and put it into my honey jars. Okay, so this is kind of hard. Sometimes you just want to get the top of this. So let me pull this down so you can see. Okay, so I'm just using, I think this is like for scraping paint, and you just want to scrape this off, and you want to get as much of this top part off as possible. And this is a sticky mess, so have a washcloth close by so you can wash your hands. And scrape. And this is the wax, and this is what seals the honey in. You can see there's lots of honey in there. And you get both sides done. This one has a little bit up here. Okay, there's a little bit here as well. Okay, this is ready to go into the honey extractor. This is the honey extractor. I bought this a couple weeks ago. It's just kind of like a washing machine, and it has a dial on it that gives you a speed as to how fast you can spin, and it really does depend on the balance of the frame. So there's 2 frames in there. Some, depending on the size of the frame, you might be able to fit 4 in there. And what you want to do is you want to turn the dial all the way to 0, and then turn it on and slowly increase the speed of the motor. And it's kind of sounds like an off-balanced washing machine. So I'll let you hear the sound. I found these little honey jars with the little dipper, and it comes with pre-cut little paper lids and some twine. And so I found a little bee stamp, and I'm gonna add the stamp and fill up my honey jars, and I'll take these off to market. In my last episode, I was making some lilac oil, and I'm going to use that for salads and whatever. So I saved some of the water, and now I decided I'm going to make some lilac jelly. And when I pulled the water out of the refrigerator, oh, it just smells heavenly. So I just gathered the blossoms and I put them in water, then I strained the water. And the recipe for the jelly calls for 4 cups of sugar, but I thought that might be a little too sweet. So I did 2 cups of sugar, and I added about a cup of honey. And I think this is going to be a win. So I got about 7 or 8 jars of the lilac jelly, and it didn't set up. So I'm going to put a jar in the refrigerator. That was one of the suggestions that they had, and see if that works. If it doesn't, then I'm going to have to add more pectin. I think that might work. Fingers crossed. So this is a fireplace. It's in my kitchen, and as long as we've been here, it hasn't been finished. And it was just covered with sheetrock, and so I had them put the fireproof brick on the outside. And what I'm planning on doing now is, since I have the propane heat, I'm gonna have a gas fireplace in the kitchen. And what I also had the folks do was I had them add doors, French doors, on the entranceway that goes into my family room, and then also a French door that goes into the dining room. So I can close those doors off, and it'll be nice and warm in here. I was at a little festival this past weekend, and this woman was selling these shower steamers. So I'm going to give these little guys a try. I'll let you know how they turn out. This is my surprise party shawl by Helen Stewart, and I am almost done. I'm up to, I don't know, I think it's like 520 some stitches, and it takes forever to get from one row to the next, but I'm just about finished. So it's going to have a picot edge on the end, and I think it's really turned out really pretty. I'm really happy with the colors. This is the half Hansel Hap, and this is by the designer Gudrun Johnston. And I finished this very early in January. I absolutely love the yarn. It's Jamieson and Smith. I used the exact colors from the pattern, and this has really converted me to woolly wools. I just love the old-fashioned patterns, and I absolutely love knitting with this yarn. It's a little crispy when you're knitting with it, but once you're done, it just blossoms. The really interesting thing about this pattern is the lace border and the way that the shawl is constructed. And I know that the woolly thistle was doing a hap knit along, and I followed along with that. You signed up to join their private Facebook page, and they posted videos from some designers, including Gudrun, who talk about the construction and the history of the hap, which a hap is not a shawl. It is a wrap that women wore in the Shetland Islands, and there's several different methods of construction of this shawl. I knitted this shawl using the original pattern that Gudrun put out. Since then, she's made another version of this exact pattern, but it comes in a variety of different sizes. So I think this is the half hap, which I think it's the smallest size, and this is the modern version of knitting construction of this shawl. I believe that the women from the Shetland Islands did this a little differently. The border is the last thing, the lace border, and I just loved every second of knitting this. It's a beautiful pattern. So I am going to make another half Hansel wrap hap. Look at these colors. This is Jameson Spindrift, and that is going to be the triangle, and then the accent shell colors are going to be that color 1160. I know it has a name. I am not sure what that one's called. This one is called Autumn. That's beautiful. And then Scotch Broom is the gold color. And this one is Mantilla. And Cornfield. That's pretty. And then the last one I think is called Chartreuse. So it calls for a skein of each of the accent colors, and then the main color and the lace, I think it calls for 4 skeins. Well, it's later in the day, and I think I'm going to get out and go in the garden and do some more planting. And I want to thank all of you for joining me here today. And in order to make my channel grow, I hope you give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done that. So thank you so much. Take care.